Good morning, afternoon, evening for some of you because we are located in different parts of the world. Thank you for joining this expert clinic on interoperability. I'm Freddy Rodriguez. I'm based in Bogota in Colombia, and I also represent the GPSDD, the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data, as a senior regional manager in Latin America and the Caribbean countries. So I'm very happy to be actually moderating this expert clinic with different countries actually talking about their experiences on interoperability, and also looking for questions from the different participants that are actually joining this clinic as well. So thank you for again for joining this. As you can see on the screen, this is actually a clinic organized by the United Nations Statistics Division and the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data as part of the initiative on the collaborative on administrative data. And in this opportunity, we'll have INE Uruguay, INEC from Ecuador, the UK Office for National Statistics. Also, we have the Department of Statistics of Malaysia and also the Statistical Office from Morocco. Speaking again a little bit on their experiences about interoperability and also highlighting those challenges that they're facing as well. So we will have two parts of this clinic. The first one, we will be recording this to be shared afterwards, and is related to the presentations from the speakers. So we'll have all those countries presenting on their experiences, and this will be recorded, and we can share it afterwards in the website where we have the collaborative in the United Nations website as well, and also in the Global Partnerships website. And then the second part is more related to a discussion. So what we'd like to see in the discussion is actually the different interventions from other participants of this collaborative that are actually related to task team 3 on interoperability. So this is actually something to recognize that we are inviting not only some countries that are actually the one speaking, but also other countries that are part of the collaborative related to this important exercise that we are trying to do today. So can you go to the next slide, please, Karen? So the questions that we are going to address today are how to organize and systematize the ETL, extractions, transformation, and load for administrative data, how to organize the data flow, manage and organize the process from beginning to end. The second one are state platforms for interoperability essential for the NSOs to receive administrative data from data owners. What is the experience of different countries in this regard? So that's actually what will be addressed on that related issue, and is how different organizations are working on this within the government. Data warehouses, data lakes, relational databases, and other data repositories are also something on the technology side that might be also mentioned by the countries. Where and how to store historical data from administrative data, and which systems countries are implementing and why. So those are the questions to be addressed. Now I give the floor and will be introducing the speakers. So let me start by Federico Segui from Uruguay. So Federico is the Deputy Director General of the National Statistical Institute of Uruguay. He's also responsible for the implementation of the data warehouse and the integrated system of statistical registries and surveys in the NSO. He has been also a consultant of the World Bank, Paris 21, the UN system, also the OECD, Inter-American Development Bank, and others, as an expert in official statistics based on administrative registers, quality of statistics, metadata, and microdata and anonymization. So very good to have you here, Federico. And I actually give the floor for you to start your presentation. very briefly. But before I give you the floor, I actually ask all the participants, please, if you can rename yourselves, having your name and then the institution that is actually the one that you're working for, so that we also know who is actually joining this session today. Thank you. And Federico, if you can please open your mic and start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddy. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, here we are. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I will talk about the integrated system of statistical registers and surveys, SIRE, that we have implemented at the NSI. It is not just a central database, it's not just an information system. The SIRE is a system in the broader sense of the term, made up of a set of interrelated elements that works as a whole. It's a conceptual system and management system and an information system implemented through the geostatistical data warehouse. The SIRE is based on three fundamental pillars: people, processes, and technology, aligned with the NSI strategy. The SIRE is based on a series of key elements, which perhaps are not the most visible. Perhaps the most visible part of the system is the data warehouse. The basis of the system which supports the SIRE is the conceptual and methodological framework of the system. We also have a very important element that is the generic statistical registers business process model that we have named GS RBPM because it is an adaptation of the GS BPM model developed by UNECE, and another fundamental element that is the DNA of the data warehouse system is the metadata management and especially master data management. Let's see the current status of at the NSI of Uruguay related to administrative data for statistical purposes. The NSI periodically receives more than 400 data sets from several administrative sources. Our approach is to access data as the data providers have it. No matter the format or transfer media. We don't want our data providers to have any additional burden, at least for this stage. We receive data at microdata level with national ID numbers to identify each case. Then a transformation and quality checks processes are run by the NSI to transform administrative registers and administrative variables into statistical ones. Also, the national ID number is placed by a statistical ID, a random number, used later to link with other statistical registers into the system. For these processes, we use an ETL and data integration tool called Pentaho PDI for extracting, transforming, quality check, record linkage, and loading data into the data warehouse. We have built an integrated system of statistical registers based on the Scandinavian countries model. This is composed by three base registers: population, business, and real estate. Besides, the base registers are linked among them and with other registers of the system by the key variables like the statistical ID number of persons, business, and or the other scope. Let's talk about the population register. NSI is member of the CIAS initiative of the Ministry of Social Development. This integrated information system on social area is fed by 62 administrative registers from 15 institutions, government agencies, like Social Security Authority, Ministry of Social Development, Dwellings, Agriculture, Health, also public and private health services, public and private education services, etc. It is not just a register of social programs beneficiaries, but it integrates records of people through record linkage by national ID number or the statistical ID from different government agencies to the administrative sources. It's a big information system or central database created mainly for policy making, monitoring, and public management purposes. Then the information is also used for statistical purposes, like the NSI does. We use different methods and channels to get administrative data. We are trying to use web services by the Government Interoperability platform as the main channel, but we are also receiving data in text or Excel files by SFTP protocol. The Government Interoperability platform, Rtbs, is a high-speed optical fiber network with SOA design. It has not only a technical framework, but also a legal one. It has, there are more than government agencies connected to the platform. More than 600,000 daily transactions are processed. It has more than 240 web services, more than 1,700 procedures. For instance, the National Electronic Health Records is there, birth electronic certificates, exchange of electronic files, among others. Here we have the architecture of the data warehouse, which is made up of 4 layers. The first layer is the data entry or data input, a next layer for data transformation and integration, then centralized updating and aggregation in the data warehouse, and another for data analysis and presentations. In other words, it is not only architecture on the information technology side, but also in how we have organized the processes. Here we have at the beginning, we have a single one input channel for the data. We can visualize it as a funnel where we receive the sources in different formats, from plain text files to web services in the cloud through the Government Interoperability platform. This is immediately passed to a repository of data input. Something that is very important is done at the beginning in this first layer. That is to replace the direct identifiers, the natural keys or business keys, such as the national ID number or the company's ID, which are replaced by the statistical ID, and also the data is encrypted. Then we have the process of data extraction, transformation, integration, and loading into the data preparation repository. Then we have a process of centralize data aggregation to update the data warehouse. at microdata level, and also to generate data marks on specific topics. And then the final layer is to exploit the information with different data visualization and analysis tools, such as Tableau R, Tahoe BI, etc. I'm going to skip this slide because I don't have so much time. I don't have time to tell you more details, but just to tell you that Kimball Star model has been used to design the data warehouse database. As I mentioned it before, we use ETL tools like the open source software Tahoe PDI. We have some screenshot of this software tool. We don't need to know or to have programming skills. You use some blocks of functions, and you make the data flow to transform the administrative registers to the statistical registers. And well, here we have what I was saying at the beginning. This is a model that has been adapted from the original UNECE model, that is the GS BPM, which we have called GSR BPM. We saw that the original model was very focused on what is the production of statistics in a traditional way, and thinking about a specific project or producing certain statistics, even if it is a continuous survey with several ways, or census, or even statistics generated from administrative registers, but always aim to producing a particular statistical product. So that was not fully adapted to what is the management and maintenance of an integrated system of statistical registers. But the objective is not to generate a particular data or something, but to improve the coverage and quality of the system in general, integrating different sources. That's why we have modified, especially the transformation and linking phases, and other sub-processes that we also have adapted. Another important element that I mentioned at the beginning is master data management and metadata documentation. We use a software tool called Master Data that is based on the ISO 11179 standard. Our next steps to finalize my presentation is finishing consolidating the data warehouse CIRE, continuous improvement of the data warehouse, register-based census pilot test that we are conducting at this moment, incorporate administrative data from the private sector, develop a national data strategy, perhaps as part of the national statistical plan, and implement access to the data warehouse for the national statistical system members and researchers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Federico, for this great presentation about the work that actually Uruguay is leading. I have to say that Federico has been involved in different activities as well throughout the region. So this actually brings a little bit of flavor of what is happening in other countries and what we are aiming in some Latin American countries as well. Thank you, Federico, for that good introduction to the topic. So we move next to Ecuador. So Angel Chilucia will give the presentation about the progress that Ecuador is having and actually other challenges. Angel is a systems engineer by training. He works in INEC, the National Statistical Office of Ecuador, for about 7 years, and is specialized in data and big data processing tools as well. And he has been working also on the data warehouse and the business intelligence tools as well. So I give the floor to Angel. Please, Angel, go ahead. If you have any needs of support for the translations, we, Martino and myself, are more than happy to do it, okay?
Okay, thanks, Freddy. Freddy, please, can you help me present the slides, please?
Sure, let me get it. 1 second.
Okay, thanks.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, good. So you can go ahead and just let me know when you want me to change the slide.
Okay, thanks, Freddy. Good morning, with all. My name is Angel Luisa. I am responsible for the processing area of administrative records in Ecuador. First, we are going to answer the following question, the 3 questions of clinic. 1, how to organize and systematize the ITL extraction, transform, and load for administrative data. How to organize the data flow, manage and organize the process from beginning to end. At Ecuador, we use the GSVPM model, which is divided in 2 parts. The first part is composed of planning. Sorry, is composed of planning, design, and construction that is applied only when there are new data capture, for example. In the planning stage, we define the information needs, variables, methodologies, and times and resources we need. This is the first steps at Ecuador use to capture the new data. In the design stage, we define the products, data collection, data mapping, processing and analysis, system, and workflow. From the previous stages, the data interoperability solution is defined and built, which will serve to capture data from other state institutes that have administrative records. Please, Freddy, the next slide, please. But how do we get to request data from state institutions? We carry out an information request approach to the external institution where we present 7 data transfer scenarios, which are composed of a technological model and medium, which when joined become a data transfer scenarios that are used to exchange data between both institutions. The mode is made up of hardware and software that allows capturing the data, for example, material views, ITL's process, and archives. The medium is the technological tools, resources used so that the information can reach the INEC data center, for example, internet, government data network, and magnetic media, which is not longer used, but is an option for some institutions that do not have any resource. We can see that the scenario number 1 is the ideal, since it uses the government data network and also use material views. Okay, In the second data transfer scenario, we use the government data network and ITL process, and in this way, successively in function of the resource of each institution. Please, Freddy, next slide. Okay, once we have defined the data transfer scenarios, we proceed to capture the data with the following steps. First, establish a collection. Refers to interconnect text with other institutions. Second, transfer information in an established periodicity with these institutions. Third, store information in its original format and is loaded into a single relational database. In our case, Ecuador, I use Oracle. Fourth, in collection, capture metadata is stored in internal inventory of INEG Ecuador. Please, next slide. Okay. The second question is, are state platforms for interoperability essential for NOEs to receive administrative data from data owners? What is the experience of different countries in this regard? Okay, in the case of Ecuador, is yes, because we have a government data network, which is managed by another institution called the National Telecommunication Corporation, which provides the interoperability service with the necessary security measures. The government data network Ecuador was created in November 2018 in order to improve the variability, security, and operation cost of government electronic service. Additionally, INEG Ecuador has a statistics laws from 1976, where it authorized the INEG Ecuador to receive the data from the state entities. Please, next slide. Okay, the third question. Is the data warehouse, data lakes, relational database, or data repositories where and how to store historical data from administrative register with system countries are implementing and why? In this slide, we can see that the INEG Ecuador received the data from administrative sources such as civil registration, social security, Ministry of Job, etc. This data is stored in a large relational data repository, in our case, Oracle. And on the other hand, the data is stored in its original format, raw data, such as backups, flat files, etc. And finally, the capture metadata is stored in an internal repository that links to the administrative record with the data collection frequency. From this point on, we have the data ready to load into massive data processing environment, specifically Hadoop. To conclude, the Directorate of Administrative Record is currently working to publish the catchment data in a data lake, which we hope to finish this project this year. Thanks. That is all. The conclusion is that we have the maturity process, also specialist equipment, and the technology at the service of the institution. Thanks. That is all.
Thank you, Angel, for this great introduction about what is happening in Ecuador and actually some of the progress that you've been having. So thank you for that again. So now we give the floor to Will Idiaco. He's a lead data engineer in the UK Statistical Office for over 5 years and has worked in the ONS for over 10 years as well. And the team basically has a primary function of unpacking, validating, and standardizing data and making this available through the ONS data access platform. So that's part of what this been actually leading the process for both internal and external provided data. The team engineered a wide range of administrative data sources from other government departments. So the data from commercial partners and survey data sources as well. So he has worked also across a number of IT roles for the ONS, BT, and the Post Office in the UK. So thank you, Will, for joining us, and I pass the floor for you.
Thank you, Freddie. I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
We can see it. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Freddie. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So I'm Will Bediako, and I'll talk from the Office of National Statistics in the UK, and I'll talk around some of our experiences in engineering, designing and developing the ETL process for census data from England and Wales, but also related administrative data sources. Just bear with me. My screen's not moving. Okay, that's better. So, yep. So I will talk around the ETL for census, and also, as I said, some associated admin data sources and the pre-processing that we did, just to bring to life some of the challenges that we faced. So we use a big data platform using Cloudera, and our processing is based around Apache Spark. So in terms of the data collection, data transfer, ingest processes, so there's some similarities between the survey data and the admin data. And for survey data, for census, we use Google Cloud Platform for the ingest, and for admin data, a mixture of automated processes using Amazon Web Services, but also secure manual transfer. And then the data is ingested into our data access platform, which is a data lake. And that's ingested in its raw form. Some formats aren't handled by the platform, but most formats are ingested in raw form, from which we then pick up and then ETL that data. So our key technology stack is around using Apache Spark and Python. But to make data available to our business partners, business users, across ONS, we transform that data from its raw format into Apache Hive tables, which are then used for linkage between data sets. I'll skip that slide. Wait, bear with me a minute. So I think one of the things in terms of the key things for us is around the requirements and the variation in data. So for census, we operated a large number of pipelines, ETL pipelines, which meant a large amount of data being ingested and engineered each day, with a peak of I think it was 7 million responses that were engineered on the peak day. So each of those pipelines had had its own data flow, and which is the same as in with admin data. I think on the key learning that we've gathered, one of the key learning points that we've gathered over the time we've been working with data on the big data platform, on the Cloud Data platform, the general learning is around reusable code. Going back, if we were doing this again, we look to designing reusable code, use of reusable code solutions, and the same with our admin data sources. We're currently developing an ETL framework. So each kind of based on reusable functions. So the principle of develop the function and use many times in the same way as the admin data sources that come into ONS. The principle is receive the data and process it once for use many times across the organization. Because the data is used for many different to create many different statistical outputs and analytical learning. So as you see here, this kind of gives you the feel for the number of pipelines that we run for Census, and this is similar for some admin data sources. So the ETL is in green here, in the dark green, which shows you the different pipelines and kind of the subsequent stages in the data processing pipeline. So the ETL transform the data from Census, from JSON format. So the data is for Census is in JSON format. Other data can be in CSV format, text format, XML format. So a number of different file formats, which we then transform into a flat table structure. We do a number of kind of processing steps to enrich the data. And a key thing is around adding geography address information to the data to put each record in a place, because it's key to ONS to be able to enable analysis and statistics at local level, local geographic level. And these steps, a number of these steps are done both on the survey data, but also on across most of our admin data sources, especially around assigning geographies, geographic information, unique property reference number from the using the address index matching service to admin data, and that unique property reference number enables linkage between data sets, because in the UK we don't have the concept of a population, a person identifier, a personal ID. So the linkage between households, for example, is done using the unique property reference number. I'll skip that slide. So the challenges that we see, both in terms of admin data, around the evolving requirements, so requirements that are coming from our business users. So for the Census, in terms of interoperability, the ETL stage, and the subsequent processing stage, the common understanding of requirements and common implementation of those requirements across those different teams involved in those different stages. So having a well documented, well defined set of requirements, but also the accompanying conversations around those requirements to ensure that those requirements are interpreted consistently is one of the key challenges. We also had some challenges around the interface requirements, between the different stages. So in terms of operationally implementing a pipeline, it's those, as I said, the documenting the stages so that the data flows between those stages automatically. So a key thing is around automating where possible. So automating each step in the data pipeline where possible. and also around using test data and synthetic test data. So for census, for example, and for probably most of our data, admin data sources, we're not yet at the stage where we've been able to generate synthetic test data, which will then make the actual live engineering of those data sets a lot easier. So that's something that we certainly aspire to, is be in a position to create synthetic test data. So the operational delivery was successful for Census because of the conversations between the different teams, and it's around that interoperability between the different stages, and having that well defined, well understood, so that those stages can be automated. So for us, the key thing is to automate where possible and as early as possible. Maintenance of the pipelines, I think that's something we would again learn from the experience to date, to build in operational dashboards, to then give us that live view of the health of the pipelines and the data quality from the point of ingest, data collection through to ingest, and through each of the key processing stages. And finally, just around the repackaging and optimization. So in terms of the pipeline and the enabling the interoperability between the different stages of the pipeline. So the effects of, say, one stage, our stage, for census, for example, and the size of the data that we're passing from that stage to the next stage of the processing pipeline. There was significant work involved in optimizing those stages. So in terms of the practical implementation of the processing pipeline, optimizing those stages so that to mitigate the impact and on large batch sizes, and enabling the data to flow well between the stages. So that's the key thing. I think our key learning in terms of admin data and also survey data is around that linkage, enabling that linkage between the different stages using the unique property reference number and other variables, derived variables, which enable linkage, monitoring the health of the pipeline, and automating where possible, and having those conversations, as well as having the overarching kind of framework that we work within. It's also having the conversations between people in the working teams, so each of us got the common understanding of the pipeline and the definition of the requirements and how each of those stages work together, talk to each other. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Will, for this good presentation about the work, especially on Census, that is the largest statistical operation that we face in the National Statistical Offices. So that's great to hear about the experience from the UK on this front. So we actually have next Mohamed Salini from the Statistical Office of Morocco. As a statistician of the Statistical Office for over 30 years. He has worked on various statistical domains, sampling, household, business, economic and demographic census, administrative data process, well, SDG indicators, open data, statistical registries, and others as well. He was appointed in several positions at the Statistical Office, and for the time being, he's the head of the statistical methodologies and regional coordinator dealing with methodologies, quality, and digitalization. So, Mohamed, I give the floor for you to start your presentation, and thank you for joining this clinic as well.
Thank you, Freddy. Hello, colleagues. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for some of you. I will talk about some elements on our statistical office, then the context of digital transformation, and give some background information on national data ecosystem. Then I will, of course, respond to the three main questions asked by organizers to us. First of all, we are RCP as a Moroccan ISO. Beyond statistics, we are making forecasting studies and planning, and we are the main player of national statistical system with many other stakeholders. That's the admin data sources, and who are making, of course, some statistical surveys, and they mainly producing data for administrative purposes that we can process and use for statistical purposes. We have a strong regional representation at RCP level and for other line ministries which are producing also statistics at regional level. I have to highlight here some background information on what we are doing regarding technology and digital transformation within RCP. We are currently implementing the digital action plan, and it's around 6 main areas that are to build a collaborative platform for statistical production based on GSPBM model. Then digitization of the data collection systems, of course, by using CAPI and CAWI systems instead of PAPI. To harmonize and to improve IT tools and for statistical production, from the processing to the dissemination stage. One of the most difficult projects and areas is the data management center, which is under conception and development, and it needs a lot of technical assistance from some foreign partners. Then we have the redesign of the website and the implementation of an experimental environment for the use of innovative solutions such as big data. We in general collect data from surveys, censuses, using CAPI, CATI, CAWI, and PAPI in a few statistical operations. Then we collect a lot of administrative data from line ministries, and of course we use them for statistical purposes in national accounts and for dissemination as well. Of course, for the user needs, we publish all what we have on our website, and we do have a statistical database, BDS, which is, of course, give interactive access to users on the website. And of course, we have an SDG platform meant to show what are the progress on SDGs. Let me focus on how we get data from outside. So we have some free or paid access to many databases or platforms nationwide. We have access via a password or via bilateral agreements with the main producers of data in Morocco. Then we have, as I said before, data coming from our surveys by different means and ways. And we have some access to a few registers, mainly in compiling national accounts I can see that the most, let's say, the most important or the starting point of our reflection was to design a new data management system. We did it since 2 years, even before the launch of the digital action plan. And right now we are migrating the data, all data we have from Oracle to Postgres. And we use Excel normalized templates for data entry in this first phase. But we will shortly move to use standardized API, which is in the first version 1. And of course, we are trying to use this interface of BDS to exchange data with our partners. The protocols could be various according to what are the possibilities of our data providers. We want to be flexible as much as possible in order to go and to test case by case and to be open of all what information system in our partners could be offer as possibilities. So we can use a machine-to-machine secure protocol. We can use SDMX as we used it before for MDGs, and we have a pilot line ministry to do the exercise with it. We have an interface of BDS management system, which is used within High Commission for Planning to feed the database with the statistics coming from surveys and censuses and national accounts. And as I said, we have yet experimented the use of SDMX with MDGs, and we will also use it for exchanging data with for SDGs. This photo shows actually how things are organized within RCP and how the feed of BDS and the data goes to the website. We have mainly 4 servers. The principal one is here in Statistical office, because we have a lot of buildings and all the data in the different servers are synchronized in the cloud to feed at the last moment the central server which manages also the website. Here, just a screenshot from BDS, you can, and from SDG platform on the website, what we can do with this SDG platform. And concerning the link between the BDS and the SDG platform, actually we developed some technical tools which allows us to add or update an SDG indicator and how to export indicators to JSON. Then from send SDG JSON file to SDG admin. We perform those tasks in a very automatic or semi-automatic ways. Sometimes we use sending emails. Sometimes it's you use batches for performing programs, and sometimes, as I said, it's a manual task when it comes to add for the first time information about SDG indicator. Just to summarize the link between the two platforms, it is semi-automatic, if I can say, but it will be improved as soon as possible. And the best thing is that once you have indicators within BTS, you have them within a few time in SDG platform, and of course on the website short moment after this. How do we store and how do we manage data? Actually, the approach is not really different from what is existing worldwide in different organizations. We have a collection store and exploitation store and one other store for dissemination. And we have here data entries, and of course we have data who goes to BDS, to the website, or to other data users. This is actually let's say the global structure of the data management center we are implementing right now. We are in the phase of finalizing the conception actually, and of course it needs 1 year minimum to finalize the whole structure. We have to buy a server to acquire some softwares, and of course to get technical assistance to our IT department in order to finalize all the process. And the idea is to have what is coming outside the SCP or inside SCP here in the read-only store, which is, as you can see, read-only. Then we have here the exploitation store, which allows both statisticians, business intelligence specialists, data scientists to process data here and to use information to their business lines. Then we have here a pre-dissemination store, which is the phase before the dissemination. And here in the dissemination store, and at each level of at each store, we have, of course, secured accesses for administrators and for contributors to the data processing and to data dissemination. We have, of course, yet a kind of platform when we store data from previous years. So all what we have, a legacy, is stored in a kind of platform, which is now under management and organization in order to have this more structured data sets and data files. We already prepared a catalog of all what we have, and the formats, the length, and how many years we have the files, and from, of course, survey and from administrative data as well. But because we actually collect a lot of administrative data, we have a few registers, but our most aggregate statistics are coming from administrative data. The third question asked by a colleague is what we do with the governmental data platform. We have one data platform, which is for open data, governmental open data. You can see it in this link. Actually, it was built since 2004, but not regularly updated. And recently, we have set up a body which is responsible for digitalization in national ecosystem, and it's this agency who will be responsible for this platform. And yet they launched kind of a design of this platform. We contribute to, of course, as a as one of the main producers of data at national level. And the new functionalities are, they have an API to exchange with the line ministries who have an API. And it concerns mainly the open data sets. It could be also micro data coming from administrative sources. Then there is a secured, a new functionality is they provide a secured online access for all contributors, including us, to add data sets in the directly instead of sending emails and create more tasks and more work for those responsible for this platform. Then they can also, with this new design, this new platform, capture the user feedback on relevance of the datasets we publish, because the datasets should, of course, meet the user's need and not be only the datasets we want to publish on this platform. This is a screenshot from the old interface of the data platform. The new one is more let's say more convivial and more smart and more friendly, and it shows a lot of things and some statistics on the use of the new data platform. It will be launched in December, and I will later show you in another event what looks like this new data portal. What next? As I said, we have first to finalize the DMC implementation, and to do so, we have, as we are transforming our IT tools and our ways of working, our processes, it needs continuous change management activities at national level and at regional level, because we have all as well 12 offices at regional level who are providing data, conducting surveys and collecting administrative data as well. And we have also something which is key is the API for BDS, the version 2. With it, we can be comfortable to exchange data using different means our data providers are willing to. Then we have to achieve work on standards and technical frameworks for classifications and of data exchange with the public open data platform, because it seems that in order to make the data flow very easy and very interoperable between line ministries, we have to work, and SCP is contributing a lot in the task force for standards and references in order to share with them all what we have as standards, classifications of data, in order to make the data flow more fluent and more interoperable within the open data. Of course, we can then in this platform can have access to all data line ministries provide to the open data platform once our API will be ready. What is advised for big projects is to start with pilots, and this is what we are aiming. This is what we are actually starting to do. We are implementing automating exchange with the some line ministries. I can mention here the OCP, the producer of phosphate in Morocco, one of the biggest one worldwide. To exchange aggregated data with them. Then we have another pilot test with trade statistics using SDMX, as this our colleagues in Office of Exchange has developed the SDMX with the USD last year. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that I was not I didn't take a lot of time for organizers, and I will be happy to answer to your questions. I have to mention that maybe I'm not an IT specialist, but I hope that in the next clinics of experts for such topic, there will be other colleagues from IT department who are working with us to present things more deeply and in technical details, if you hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohamed, for sharing those experiences actually from Morocco as well. This is very useful on different fronts. So I give the floor now to Malaysia. We have actually two speakers from Malaysia. Siti Salwani, just the Principal Assistant Director, Data Management and Integration Division. She has experience of over 19 years as well on this topic. She has a Bachelor of Science in Statistics. And we also have Aziza Hashim, Senior Assistant Director as well from the Information Technology Division, and around 13 years on this organization as well. She has a Bachelor of Science with honors in Intelligent Systems and different certifications as well. So welcome to this clinic and thank you for joining. And I pass the floor for you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie, and hello, everyone. Okay, let me share my slide first. Okay, I hope everyone can see my slides. As being introduced, I am Siti Salwani Ismail from Department of Statistics Malaysia. And together with me, besides Aziza, we also have a few others, friends, colleagues from departments of Malaysia who joined the session today. So I'll be sharing DOSM experience on system interoperability. Okay, before I go further, just a quick background on DOSM. We are the premier agency that entrusted to collect, disseminate and statistics for the purpose of national policy making. Okay, so with the current development on the use of new methodologies, new data profession, data overflow, and the advancement in information and technology, it has given impacts on DOSM deliverables. So, it also has brought about the modernization and innovation for DOSMs. So for today, I'll be sharing on Stats BDA, My IPCS, News, and Stats DW system within the DOSM environment. Okay, I start with Stats BDA. So Stats BDA is the big data analytics for DOSM. It's an initiative to maximize the usage of big data in the compilation of official statistics. Currently, it focuses on trade and prices domain. So the modules in this Stats BDA, one of it is Trade by Enterprise Characteristic, or TEC. So it is an integration of Malaysia's Statistical Business Register with the trade database from the Royal Custom Department of Malaysia in order to identify the enterprises that are engaged in the international markets and what are their characteristics. So it also complements the trade data statistics produced by DOSM. So another module in Stats BDA is the Price Intelligence, which is the adoption of web scraping techniques to scrape price data from relevant websites for CPI. And it improves the quality of the data, thus it gives better insights in consumer price analysis and monitoring. It also enables a new price basket analysis, which will be used as value added to the current CPI of Malaysia. Another module in this STEP BDA is the real-time business status, RTBS. It is the initiative that integrate data from the Companies Commission of Malaysia within the DOSM environment to enable organization to have direct access on the information of the business entities in Malaysia. Another module here that I would like to share is the statistics classification or BIS codes at Stats. It's also available in Stat BDA, which it is the mobile application development for statistical code and classification that allow users to access the application via their smartphones. Okay. So as you can see here, these are the softwares used in each of the subcomponents of the Stat BDAs. Okay, and each modules have a specific software being used. So I just go fast on this slide, but if you have any question, you can ask later. Okay, next system that I would like to share is the Malaysia Integrated Population Census System. Okay. So we have currently completed our operation or field operation for data collection for Malaysia population census, and in the midst of data analysis. So my IPCS is the integrated system, which cover from the process of pre-census, during the census operation, as well as post-census. And the data management is carried out also via the system in this my IPCS. Okay, these are the main features for the my IPCS. And in census management, the data anonymization is applied. The coding and classification are being utilized here during this census data management process, where data dictionary for standardized address in Malaysia is also being applied. And here also the unique ID generation being done. And the data processing engine performs data cleansing, harmonization, and integration at this stage. We also have the register of Malaysia address and population and MSPR in this census data management. So in the smart search is where the query for individuals data. And here, secondary and administrative data is used. So the administrative data are used to ensure the completion of census questions, which are not fully answered by the respondent, and as well as for the cross-checking of the census data collected. Okay, as shown here is the my IPCS architecture model. Okay, the ETL process happens here in the integration layer, which is to be used in the application and visualization layer. Okay. Okay, next system is the National Enterprise-Wide Statistical System, or in short, we call it NEWS. Prior to the development of NEWS, DOSM has approximately 71 application systems, which are silos and maintained in various platforms and databases, and also using different programming language. So when we have NEWS, most of the applications are now using the same platform, database, and programming language. So NEWS is the Integrated Statistical System Framework that enables linkages between the subject matter divisions in the Departments of Statistics with its 14 states office throughout the Malaysia, and is efficiently used to monitor and manage the household and economic census and surveys conducted by DOSM. So it also enables improved in timeliness and reliability of statistical data collection by DOSM. Okay, so next is our statistical data warehouse. So DOSM is currently undertaking the development of statistical data warehouse in phase 2. And in this phase 2, it's actually the upgrading of the DOSM current conventional data warehouse, which turn into modern data warehouse system. It is a national scale initiative by DOSM to consolidate and integrate all statistical data process in a centralized and secure ecosystem. This process includes the integration of data management, management of data, dissemination of data on a single platform. So the StatsDW framework comprises 3 main modules. You can see here, SDP, which refers to Smart Data Partnership, SDLM refers to Smart Data Lake Management, and SDC is the Smart Data Communication. So here are the process flow for the StatsDW, and it includes the integration of internal systems that I just mentioned earlier, DEMA IPCS, StatsBDA, and News. And also it will integrate other systems from the other governments, okay? And the ETL process happens from the staging process, where before the data goes into the statistical warehouse, which here we have social data hubs and economics data hubs. So data are categorized into these 2 data hubs. And also we have metadata management here. Okay. So this is the same as previously, only it shows the submodules of each of the main modules in StatsDW. All right, on the system interoperability. Okay, the main barriers in exchange and interoperability usually are the lack of compatible technologies and challenges in exchanging the data across different platforms. So these are the main features that we have in the StatsDW to ensure the interoperability. So first, in identifying key attributes, where the data for individuals is being identified through the identification number, while for establishment, we use the business register number. So in StatsDW, we have metadata management, and this metadata management provides metadata, and it is SDMX compatible, so that's for future exchange it'd be easier. And we have StatsDW submodules also provides in data cubes. For example, we have the population data cubes, and all data will be in open data formats. So there'll be a transformation process from raw data to structured data and mission readable format via the ETL, which this data will enable analytics to be done. Interactive dashboards can be produced, as well as map and visualization purpose. So the data, StatsDW also involves multiple organizations. It's either within the organizations and also across the organization. So for the across organization, in acquiring the other administrative data, we also had sharing agreements and MOUs with these agencies. And we are towards using the APIs and open APIs integration. So also in StatsDW, there is usage of standard classification and vocabularies. So these sums of the classification that we use in StatsDW, the Public Sector Data Dictionary by Government of Malaysia. It has a dictionary on most of the items to be used by other agencies as well. And then the Malaysia Standard Industrial Classification, M6, this for the establishment surveys, we use these codes. And the Malaysia Standard Classification of Vocation or Occupation, MASCO, for the employment purposes data. So in terms of accessibility, data will be published and made available through websites to multiple contexts of users, such as the main stakeholders for DOSM, the research community, and as well as for other purposes. So at the same time, in microdata sharing, confidentiality and security of data are also being part of our concern. So we ensure that data are anonymized. Okay, so currently we are integrating the systems, internal system that I have mentioned earlier, the three within DOSM systems, and we are integrating this data from the Department of Social Welfare, the Meteorology Department, and the Central Bank of Malaysia. So this is hoped to be achieved within this year. And moving forward, we are looking to integrate more data from other agencies, such as the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Youth, with the Customs Department themselves, the Immigration Department, and also we are moving forward to integrate others other internal DOSM system. So I think that's all the presentation from Malaysia, and me and Aziza, we are open for discussion after this. Thank you.
Thank you, Siti and Aziza, as well for this actually good presentation about what Malaysia is doing and actually some of the challenges that you have. So we are actually about to wrap up this first part, which is actually the presentations, and we will start some questions or interventions from other participants in the clinic. But let me give you a little bit of the insights that I took from the different presentations. One of them is access to data. I know this is not new, but it's still a big challenge. Accessing to data is quite difficult, even if it's from other government institutions, has to be going through different agreements or scenarios of collaboration as well. So that's actually the main element to consider how we are going to access to the data. And also related to this is what kind of formats will be done. So in some of your presentations, the possibility of access to different formats is also a potential exercise, not limited to have a structured data, but rather to be able to provide some support for other institutions that are not very much engaged with data related issues, so that they can provide some data, even if it's unstructured, but with the support of the National Statistical Office, actually it will be possible to get access to this kind of data. Also, I take into account some examples about the census from the UK as well, how this is actually once every 10 years, but actually provides opportunities to have other exercises and also actually increase the capacities for the institution as well, having this big operation, a statistical operation run through the National Statistical Office in this case, have alternative approaches as well, and how actually, even if though this is challenging to face a census, how this is actually an opportunity to bring other elements into collaborations with other institutions, and also to improve the quality of the data as well. Also, the opportunity to work with other government institutions is a challenge, but also opportunity. So all of you mentioned this in different mechanisms, how you're working with other government institutions, how you are engaging with them, how you are requesting data. But I think some of the lessons learned from all these discussions with the different countries based on the presentation is how we should think in a multi-stakeholder approach, and how we should also think in a way that we need to see what are actually the needs from the institution. So what we actually can provide for them in order to get access to that kind of data. And then other elements that I take also into account is how the data could be exchanged. So some of you mentioned about SDMX, which is actually very much related to also the SDGs indicators, even though this is more from the statistical community discussion, how we can actually scale this to other government institutions. Other ways to exchange data was through APIs and other mechanisms. So again, the opportunity to have alternatives for the government institutions that actually are the ones collecting admin data should be something to consider as well. And lastly, but not least, the integration of different systems, I think, is one of the biggest challenges that the NSOs are facing. So even within the same NSOs are different, or should have probably an opportunity to work on how to integrate these systems, because that will actually reduce the duplication of efforts as well. And how will actually the architecture, the data architecture should be think as a whole and not individually through the systems. So that kind of elements I'm taking from the presentations that we have from INE Uruguay, also from INEC Ecuador, from the UK Office for National Statistics, or also from the Statistics Office of Malaysia, and also the Statistics Office of Morocco. So thank you again for actually sharing those experiences that actually provide us with a good insight of this. So we are going to stop right now this first part of the session today. But now I think, Karen, I think it's time to stop the recording, I think. Thank you. So now we are going to start a more an informal conversation. By informal, I mean be very open on asking any questions, even if they are more detailed to the speakers, or even if you have an additional intervention you would like to share, other experiences from the participants that we have here, please do it now. You can raise your hand, or through the chat box, you can share some of the questions or insights that you would like to add to this discussion. So I see we have a hand raised from Federico. Federico, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Federico. Just to add a couple of things that you mentioned it. I agree with you that the most important thing is, and the first step is to have access to data. So if you don't have access to data, it doesn't matter. All of these technical stuff about the data warehouse, and makes no sense to set up an entire IT infrastructure if you still don't have a volume of data that should justify it. So we started step by step and building something that is easily scalable. So that's my thought. And on the other hand, you mentioned something about SDMX. And I think it could help, but I think at this stage our approach is to access the data at the data providers have it, no matter their format or transfer media. We don't want to add additional burden to our data providers, transforming the data to SDMX format. And on the other hand, an additional is that we are trying to use the government interoperability platform So this network has its own XML standard. So it is difficult to change it to another standard like SDMX. So in that context, our decision was to use the standard implemented in the government platform, interoperability platform. But of course, we are thinking to use the SDMX standard to exchange data and metadata with other institutions, especially international agencies. That's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Federico. And it's good to see that there are actually some NSOs that are integrating the SDMX as a possibility for data exchange within the country, but others that are going step by step and maybe having a different approach. So one of my conclusions is not only one approach is the solution, but rather to have different alternatives of this. So we have Edgardo. Edgardo, please go ahead, and good to have you on the clinic as well.
Thank you, Freddy, and thank you for all the presenters for this excellent mix of success stories, I would say, or work in progress in some cases, but with very good perspective. Just a couple of things I would like to mention. First of all, I agree with what Federico has just said about access to data is crucial. And second point, I think also is not only access into it, but also data harmonization is another thing that we have to take into account before doing anything else, because you cannot mix data that is conceptually not harmonized. So although concepts can have the same name, not necessarily are meaning the same, especially when you get data from different data sources, and especially when sources that come from different objectives. Let's say administrative records has not been meant, has not been designed most of the time for statistical use. So these two aspects has to be taken into account. But that said, we also have to remember that in this collaborative, we have 3 task teams, and task team 1 talks about the legal and the access, the legal aspects of accessing the data, and task team 2 talks about data harmonization and concept harmonization. So it's fair that we worry in this task team about the interoperability. And although it's not always happening, we should take for granted that data will be harmonized and accessible. But that's the first point. Second point about SDMX. Most of you know I am the chair of the technical working group, so my opinion will be fully biased. But I just would like to say, regarding what Federico said, that you should not always only think of SDMX as the protocol for data exchange. It's true that this was the origin of SDMX, and this is still in the acronym. The X means exchange. But SDMX strength is also in the information model that is behind the standard. And then you can think of SDMX information model to help you have a stronger data model in your data storage or even in your data dissemination. So I agree with Federico, you cannot impose SDMX to administrative data owners because this is not the métier. So they are not going to be investing in that. But from your door inside, you can think of SDMX to, for example, help in the harmonization by having organized concept scheme, helping in harmonizing metadata by having good MSD. So there's a number of elements that will help you, and especially now with SDMX 3.0, that is better suited for microdata management, but because when we talk about registers, we are talking about basically microdata. The last point that I would like to, that is more a suggestion maybe for the task team, if I may, it has to do with one thing that all of you mentioned in different ways. That is one of the key aspects of the interoperability, that is linking the records. So you have to know what belongs to whom, either individuals or enterprises. And this is not always simple to do. I mean, I know Federico has an advantage there because in Uruguay, there are universal ID for people and for enterprises since some years. It took a long time and it's a small country, so it was more or less feasible. But in many countries, even I heard Bill saying that even in UK, there's no universal identification for people. So linking records is a challenge. So my suggestion would be to try to make a stock-taking exercise in the task team of algorithms from linking records and to try to see how the different experiences are linking the records from individuals and from enterprises, and try to see if this can lead to a kind of a manual or guidance or best practices on linking records, because I think that this is something that we all can benefit from. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edgardo, for those great insights. And I believe that your last point related to linking records is actually going to be considered. So Luis is not actually on the call, but Federico and also David from Ecuador are part of the colleagues of this tax team. So that's actually something that we are going to be taking into account for further discussion. Not sure if it will be a clinic, but at least for further discussion to be one of the topics to be addressed by this tax team 3 that many of you know this is the most technical one and technology focus as well. So sometimes it has different views as well on what we can approach, etc. But that's the idea, to narrow down some of those elements and to be able to provide better support for the 2022 discussions as well. So thank you, Edgardo. Anyone else? I don't see any hands raised. Oh yes, Mohamed, sorry, I missed that. So Mohamed, please go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, Freddy. My question is a bit a general question, and if I can get, let's say, 3 or 4 advices on how to well prepare, let's say, a data ecosystem where interoperability is more or less feasible. I mean that we are now on a big project. We are on a digital transformation plan. When we have the DMC, we have the collaborative platform, we have the harmonization of IT tools and softwares colleagues talked about before. We have this innovative platform for experience. We have those projects who are conducting with some pilot line ministries, and of course I know that this DMX will not be adopted by many others. If we can just implement it with Office d'Echange, it's a good experience to share with others and to say, look, we have one department who is exchanging with this DMX, but for you, you can choose any other mean to exchange data with us. It's not, of course, but if I can just get 1 or 2 or 4 advices on how to start, not how to start, we already started, but what ways to avoid, what bad practices to avoid, and what good practices to do. Because we have a lot of building blocks, we have a lot of projects, and sometimes we have to take rest and think about, are we going to the right direction to implement a very comprehensive data ecosystem within our office and outside our office, more or less interoperable? This is my question. It's not. It's open for any expert to give me some key answers here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. So I actually open the space if anyone wants to share one or two ideas for Mohammed. You can raise your hand and I give you the floor. And we have someone. So would you like to go next? I don't know if it's related to Mohammed's intervention or additional one, but please go ahead. And in the meantime, others that would like to also share experiences for Mohammed would be good.
Hi, everyone. I just have interest in the question how to access others' data. Actually, we in Lawson also have a difficult situation where try to do the engagement with the other agencies. So if there is any tips or techniques that can be shared together to Lawson, we would like to hear from all the speakers and all the moderators also. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone would like to jump in and share some of their experiences and specifics on Mohammed's and also Aziza's points? I don't see anyone. Can I put on the spot of Federico, since actually you have some of those experiences in Uruguay, and actually you've been very engaged in other elements in Latin American countries. So I don't like to do this, but can I put you on the spot on this, Federico?
Sorry, Freddie.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you have points or additional elements besides what you just shared in your presentation related to the advice on how to be well prepared for interoperability, that was the point raised by Mohammed, and also Census' point about how to integrate also different admin data sources and systems as well.
In our case, in our experience, we already have this government interoperability platform in place, but not all our data providers use that platform. So we are trying to go through this platform. It's the best option for us to get interoperability, but not only technical interoperability, but also semantic interoperability and security, legal, all of this kind of interoperability. So that's why we are trying to use this government platform that assures all this kind of interoperability. But the reality is that we need the data as they have it. So they share data in different format, in different media. So we agree to receive it as they have it. And we are trying to move to harmonize, to standardize and put the data into this platform. I think that's the best option. But in our case, this platform was built by the e-government agency several years ago. So we are lucky to have it, but and we are trying to make more agencies that use this platform to share data with us, and that's what I have to say. But this is our experience. But I recommend it, but it depends of the context of the country. it's not easy to build this kind of interoperability platform, but fortunately, our e-government agency is a strong agency with resources, but and that's why they build it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Federico, for this great intervention. I think it's actually something that was addressed in the different interventions to work with other government agencies. So in the case of Uruguay, as Federico was mentioning, the e-government agency, actually in some countries is a partner, and in other countries generates conflicts, a lot of conflicts. So that's actually something to explore in the case of Malaysia, in the case of Morocco. Not sure how the things are there, but something to also explore. And I see Edgardo also raised his hand. So Edgardo, please go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you. No, I can share some experiences on a bit particular domain, that is labor domain, of course, labor statistics domain. We have a project or a series of projects at the ILO that is the implementation is assisting the countries on implementing a labor market information system. By the way, we are working with Morocco and Malaysia, so there are ongoing projects there. And of course, that the labor market information system is based as much as possible on labor force survey data, but it also requires administrative data. So some tips that I can say from the experience of the project. First, I have a presentation that I usually do that includes a slide very similar to the one that Federico showed in his beginning, the iceberg. I mean, and I would say that the IT part of the interoperability is just what is outside the surface or above the surface. There's a lot of work, and I insist on accessing the data, harmonizing the data, and preparing the interconnection or the exchange of data that is under the surface and takes more than 70–80% of the resources and time. Knowing that, I fully agree with what was said here. We have to receive the data as it is, and we cannot wait until the best interconnectivity and interoperability platform can be set up. So the main advice from the data collection point of view, be agile and try to do the things in incremental cycles with improvements, and not wait to have the full-fledged interconnection with the automatic and pre-planned scheduled transmission. No, this will take years to be, even with the most advanced platform like Uruguay can have with AGESIC. Federico has problem to have the data and to harmonize the data. So start with what you have, receive the data as it is, but what you have to do is endorse a clear system of harmonization. And this is where I repeat myself, but for example, I will not say SDMX, but having a single concept scheme where you can map everything that you receive and ensures that you are talking about the same meaning for the same variables, this is a very important thing. So it doesn't matter how, in which format you receive the data, by which mean. It can be an email, it can be a USB key, it can be an open reel tape, if ever you can read it. But once that you have the data, then try to convert it into a single format, let's say electronically, but very important semantically, so that when you get the data into your storage, you know that data is comparable and you can use it with confidence. That is our experience, not to force the counterparts and not to wait for the counterparts to be ready. Help them as much as possible, but don't wait for the super highway of interconnection for having the data.
Thank you, Edgardo, and that's a clear message as well. To work with what we have, actually. And we have also, I'm aware that we only have 6 minutes, but I see that someone else raised a hand. Oh, no. Oh, I have someone else is raising a hand. Let me double check. Was it someone from Malaysia that raised? Yeah. Oh yeah. For any reason, I don't. Oh yeah. Now it's. So go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick sharing that in developing the StatsDW data warehouse, the main obstacles is also on the human resource or the capabilities, internal capabilities, the understandings of the systems. So in DOSM, we have to continuously provide trainings for the staffs who are involved in developing the data warehouse. But another challenge that the turnover of the staffs is quite also fast. I mean, sometimes they change to another divisions, so we have to do another trainings. And also in the IT departments, there are limited resource who are capable to perform certain tasks. For example, who are able to do perform the ETL task. So it's also another big challenge in ensuring the interoperability of the data warehouse in DOSM that we are establishing. So that's all, just a bit sharing from my side.
Thank you, Ronnie, for those actually points about challenges that are actually the ones that we need to list down to see how we are going to start working on those. Do we have anyone else that would like to share some additional points or even through the chat? I just, in the meantime, if we have someone else raising a hand, my colleague Martino shared a survey, which is actually very useful for us to see if we are covering things that are important for the rest of the testing. I see he's actually sharing again the link. So if you can actually complete this short survey that, again, will help us also to see if we are addressing things that have been discussed with the countries that actually presented today, but we would like actually in the future to cover other elements as well. So I don't see anyone else raising a hand or sharing additional points through the chat. So just to conclude, I would like to thank you again, all the speakers, for your time. I know this seems to be a little bit long, having nearly 2 hours of discussions about interoperability on a Monday, especially for us that is very early in the morning. But I know, for example, the colleagues in Malaysia is very late. So thank you for actually taking the time, even if it's in the morning or at night, because actually this is important. And what we try to do with these clinics is to share the experiences, but also to take advantage of those challenges and experiences that other countries are having. So thank you again. I hope you have a good rest of the day and the week as well. And we will keep you posted about further information. We will have another clinic in the coming weeks as well for other tax team. But in the future for 2022, the idea is to continue this kind of clinics. But again, as I mentioned, to narrow down to more specifics, today was a broader discussion about the interoperability, but I believe for the next year, it will be more targeting specific topics that are relevant for all of us. Thank you again, and I hope you have enjoyed this clinic as well. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.